Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mac Yak. As you could tell, we have a different format tonight. We are actually trying to use something a little different and hopefully be a little bit better quality for you guys out there. So say hi everybody. We're in our own little boxes now. We're not and we're not floating around anywhere. Yeah.
I like Greg's icon on there. That's cute.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, what we're using now, okay, this is the new look of Mac Yak, so hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully the audio is sounding good. I know it's a lot different because we're actually using OBS now instead of Wirecast. So it shouldn't be laggy. I've got 0 drop frames, so I don't know why it's saying that. Somebody's saying that. Okay, so Brock says there's an echo. Let me mute Jay, see if it's him. All right, so Brock, let's know if there's still an echo or not. So you guys say.
Yeah, everyone else talk. La, la, la. I hear it too.
Is it still there though after I shut Jay off?
I hear from one of us, like someone's speaker.
Steve gets all the story when he talks.
Ooh.
All right, so it's not Jay. So let's try. Let's try Steve. So I just got Steve muted. So let's see if that's the cause.
Because I don't hear an echo. I hear the distorted sound from Steve talks.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I'm not sure why there would be an echo. Because I don't have anything in here that could echo.
I hear it on mine too. It's weird. Okay. Anybody except you, GT, is sounding really rough. Strange.
That is strange.
You're the only one.
All right, so
You're the only one crystal clear on here.
let's go with Mike here.
Yeah, this sounds like an OBS issue.
Yeah, it might be. Let's try Mike. I just muted Mike, so we'll see if that's still an echo problem. Like I said, guys, this is something new. We're trying to work out the bugs here, so hopefully you guys can have a better experience here. I've read some stuff on this about the echo and stuff like that, so hopefully there's no echo. So go ahead and say something there, everybody except for Mike. He's muted.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello again.
All right, so hopefully there's still no echo there. I don't know if there's an echo or not. I don't see anybody typing anything.
Your audio is the only audio that's
Yeah.
good. Everybody else is being routed through something that's messing up.
All right, hold on.
Exactly. It's something to do with that.
Let's do something here. Hold on. It might be with Skype too. I don't know if it's. Is that any better, guys?
We have to check it by one of us talking, so we'll see.
Talk. Blah blah blah. Test.
Nope.
Well, I think the only reason why I'm without echo is because it's going. I'm talking straight into it, so it's got to be a Skype issue. This has.
It's not really an echo. It's like distorted and choppy.
So it's.
Yeah, it's some kind of filter over the audio or something.
Hold on a second.
I don't know.
Let me pull your all's mic gains down some, so maybe that'll help.
Yeah, it's like a cutting in and out, like a bad cell phone connection.
All right, so I pulled everybody's audio down some, so let's see if that helps the problem right there. So everybody's in the green. Nobody's hitting the yellow except for me, but let me pull mine down. It says robots. Well, yours is the furthest one down, so let me pull you up a little.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So is that better, Brock? Okay. Looks like we at least kind of got the echo gone. So Brock says it's a lot better. So
I hear everybody else low when I'm on the YouTube channel except you, Greg, but maybe I just. Oh, never mind. Ignore me. My volume's low.
well,
I
that's
can't hear anybody except GT now.
yeah. Hold on, I'm adjusting the audio quality here, so everybody's about the same on audio.
Jay still sounding distorted even though he's low.
Yeah, I'm just on distorted too.
Okay, I'm seeing Jay's audio meter. When anybody talks, Jay's audio meter moves.
Test.
Yeah, see, I'm seeing that on Jay's.
So maybe something's routed through the old power.
Skype's noise cancellation.
Yes, so I think we figured it out. I think it's on Jay's. We did do a test run, Dan, but we didn't have half of these problems. So let's see if by Jay putting in. All right, now let's see.
All right.
Testing.
Damn, I'm seeing you come across everybody's there, Steve. Say something, Ronnie.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, so I'm seeing, this is what's weird is when somebody talks, I see all the audio meters jump. So it's going through everybody's for some reason. I don't know why.
Can you not pull one Skype audio?
No, I have to pull it individually because it's all individual streams coming in. It's NDI.
That's interesting.
So is it any better as far as the audio, guys? I mean, can we get through the show?
No, it's like if you pause for a second, you switch to YouTube for a second, just hear it on your phone or something, you hear it's like a cell phone cutting out. You only hear like like that.
All right, hold on. Let me pull it up since you guys are.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, have anything right now while we figure these problems out? We did do a test, but. You mean an AMA or what do you call it, AMSR or whatever that? Hold on, let me pull up the.
We should have some cool videos playing or something then.
What games are in the Apple II?
What do you think, Steve? Oregon Trail. Come on.
Yeah,
You have a unit drive for that? Just a 5 quarter.
I do. It's just not plugged in.
Oh, okay. So
Ooh. The GeoS, yeah.
if you have
All right, is that any better, worse, what?
Let's see.
Now I'm hearing echoes myself, so.
Meow. Meow. Meow.
All right, hold on. We're working on it.
This is going to be the extra cool episode. This is the cool things at the end.
Yeah, go for it. All right, hold on a second. Let me try something here. I've got like 6 tracks showing up on here, so I think it's all of us plus the main one. So, all right, give me another. Let's try this again. Y'all got to say something so I could.
Numbers. like Skype, but they're still owned by eBay.
All right, so yeah, Skype is Microsoft. They're trying to screw with us there. That's what it is.
Always conspiracy. That is why.
Guys, we're just gonna have to deal with this right now until I figure out what's wrong with it, because
Good Lord.
we're just gonna.
Oh, wait. Someone says we have sound.
Yeah, we have nobody can hear. Nobody. I mean, it's still garbled.
Somebody goes sound, yay. All right, so this is what we're trying to do, guys. I mean, as long as, I mean, the picture quality's good. We just need to figure out the sound now. That's what we'll figure out. So anyways, that burned up 15 minutes, so hey.
Yeah, but nobody.
That's what he's saying. Who says we
Do we
can't?
need to go back to
Huh?
FaceTime? Do we need to go back to FaceTime? Because we're still chopping bill.
Hold on.
We're just be our length, the whole thing. Like, it'll be different voices.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but yeah, now I could hear it.
Can we do a FaceTime video call? And just be on Skype?
All right, guys. So the only other option is us to go back to FaceTime, which I don't want to do.
This wide angle lens.
Can we fire up your cast or preset?
We probably lose the stream because I have to go through Wirecast to do this because OBS doesn't capture the desktop audio.
I think.
You might have to use Soundflower for next time and do desktop
Yeah.
audio capture instead.
All right, Jay, try yours right now.
Blah blah.
All right, Jay, try yours right now.
How was that?
No, it's
That was one of my best blahs.
still bad.
One of my best. Just put this on the. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure why everybody's audio is trying to come through the same mixer, so that's what's causing a problem right there. It shouldn't be though. That's the weird thing about it. Man, it's audio properties. All right, so I just tried downmix to mono. Let's try that. All right, got everybody back again, so say something. So even if I do one person at a time, it's not going to work. He wants a solo show. All right, guys. So what we could do is we could dump this and go back to Wirecast real quick. It'll take me about 15 minutes to get it set up. So want to do that?
How much?
I don't think we have another.
It's going to take me about 15 minutes to get it all set up and everything.
What the hell? 35 episodes. You're supposed to be a pro. You're supposed to be a pro at this.
Don't worry, nobody can hear Jay. Don't worry, nobody can hear Jay. You can't.
Yeah. All right, so guys, we're going to be right back. We're going to get FaceTime up and running, and we'll be right back.
Now it's repeating the nobody. Now it's repeating the.
All right, now we should have sound, guys.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right.
Testing.
I'll wait for confirmation from the audience.
Yeah. I don't see it. Yep.
And
here,
now
I
we're
should say.
buffering.
Yep. There we go. I hear it now.
God.
We have audio again.
Yay, we good?
I hope so. We got 14 viewers now. We need to do something for our audience. All right, guys. Appreciate the hanging in there with us. All these technical difficulties here. This is the problem with trying to switch to something new. We need to figure out how those other guys do that live stuff like this, because to be honest with you, they've got to have a different way of doing stuff.
We'll just have to ask Michael.
Yeah, we need to ask Michael because he does it all the time. So we
I
gotta
think
figure out.
I think we're the one of the few that are doing this on a Mac. Everybody else uses Windows and Streamlabs and stuff like that. So
Maybe I'll switch to.
no, don't even say it. No, but dude, it worked fine. Well, yeah. mostly fine for 34 episodes. So there has to be something going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something with Wirecast's issues. I don't know, but
I think it's
anyways,
you, but
guys,
yeah.
I need to bring in Grudy's video so we can play that. But other than that, let's go around the horn. Just say hi, everybody, because let me get that ready. So you guys take over for a minute.
All right.
Okay.
And to be fair to Greg, we have extensively tested this, and it worked up until today.
It did.
So
It did.
no idea what's going on. But yeah, our first topic
He's winning.
is because we saw a discussion on Facebook. Somebody was selling or buying matched pair processors for their Mac Pro, and a little debate started that's saying, hey, if you have this Mac Pro, you don't have to worry about matched CPUs because every CPU that was made for that box is automatically matched, as long as it's the same, speed and all that. So, whole bunch of back and forth, yes, no, yes, no. So we thought, let's talk about it on Mac Yak. Why not? So Greg, not this Greg, the Greg that's not here, had a lot to say about it, but he's not here for the 5th week in a row, and after this show is over, we're going to unanimously vote him out. He's fired. He's gone. So he made a little video that Greg is now desperately trying to queue up.
Nope, I have it up.
Oh, he has it.
So
And
as soon as you're ready, we can play it.
this is what he has to say about it. So roll tape.
Hey guys, sorry I can't make it to MacYak today. I've been having internet issues for the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's getting really old. I have enough bandwidth where I can slightly upload things, which is why I'm uploading this video for you guys. But other than that, I really don't have much internet at all. I can't even really stream anything right now. That's the problems with living in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, wow, it's hot in my car. Right now I'm out, so it should be easier for me to send this out to you guys. But anyway, MacYak wanted me to talk about CPU matching and stepping and stuff. And so, basically, matching and stepping. It doesn't really matter on any Mac Pro other than the 3,1 for stepping. The stepping is basically a revision of the CPU. Okay, and it may have, for instance, for the 3,1, when the 3,1 was being made, the SLA stepping CPUs were being made. And about the time they stopped making the 3,1 Mac Pro, the SLB CPUs with the same model numbers came out, but they're not compatible with the 3,1. So if the stepping is not the same, aka the SLA stepping, it will not run in a 3,1 Mac Pro, even if it's the proper model number that would be compatible with that Mac Pro. If it's an SLB, it's just not going to work. So that is a problem, but that's the only time stepping comes into play. On any Mac Pro from the 1,1 to the 5,1, stepping does not matter for anything except maybe if you're talking about match sets. And one more thing about stepping, like I said, it's a revision, and basically for the 3,1 Mac Pro, I think they changed how the cores were accessed a little bit, and that's why the 3,1 just does not recognize it properly. So yeah, that's the only time stepping comes into play. That, and if you're trying to match CPUs. Now, match sets, it doesn't really matter on a Mac Pro if it's matched or not. Match just means it was made, the CPUs were made about the same time, usually about the same day, and in turn have similar silicone. They're basically identical CPUs because of the silicone. And the argument is they'll be more efficient working together because the silicone's about the same. But it doesn't really matter because unless you're overclocking them, which you can't in a Mac Pro to begin with, if you're overclocking them, that's the only time it really matters if they're matched. And most multi-CPU systems aren't overclockable to begin with, so it never really matters. Maybe in a server it would matter a little bit, but it doesn't really the argument is they'll be more efficient because they're working the same. But if they're both the same CPUs, same model number, and run at the same gigahertz, they're going to run at that gigahertz whether they're matched or not. Now, of course, the stepping, you might want to match the stepping, but other than that, stepping once again doesn't come into play unless you're trying to match these two CPUs and they're different stepping. That's the only time stepping comes into play on other Mac Pros. So basically, that's basically everything. Match sets, it doesn't matter. They'll perform the way they're supposed to perform, whether they were made at the beginning of the production of those CPUs and the other one's made at the end. If they're both 3.0 gigahertz or something like that, they'll both run at 3.0 gigahertz, and that's when it really matters. It doesn't really matter. I'm driving. No. But anyway, so match sets, don't worry about it. As long as you find two of the same model number and that has the same stepping, it doesn't matter if they were made at the beginning or the end of the production run. If you find one single one for one price and another one for a little bit more or something, if you find two that are sold separately that are cheaper than buying them in a matched pair, go for it. It should still work. And like I said, other than the 3.1 Mac Pro, it never really matters. So, guys, that's basically it. I hope that helps clean up everything. I'm sorry I could not join the show today, but like I said, I have no internet, and it's really getting old. I hope I will have internet by next week, and I hope to see you guys then. And I hope everyone on MacYak, hi guys, I hope everything's going great. And this has been going as a great episode, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Bye, guys.
And we're back. All right, that was Gruby's little video tonight, since he's decided not to show up for 5 weeks in a row. And he keeps blaming his internet, but yet he can make a video and send it to us over the internet.
That's a bullshit excuse, because I live in the middle of the nowhere, and I am even in a state that has garbage internet in the first place, and I make it.
Seriously,
the
internet, the speeds that Steve was getting on his Raspberry Pi are better than what you have at home, and you're still here.
Yeah.
Dial-up, very reliable.
Yes. All right, guys, so let's talk about matching CPUs. I know this subject came up in one of the Facebook groups about, you have to have perfectly matched CPUs in order
I already said all that.
For the work. Well,
We do it.
Do what? No.
You're so easily flustered today. It's awesome. I'm just messing with you.
I run the channel and see what I get, guys. See what I get from these other guys.
All right, everyone sing in unison. We love Gray.
Well, I have the button right here where I could turn the stream off.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one with the most memes made after him, so it's okay.
That's true.
That's true.
Anyways, matched CPUs. My opinion is that if you get two CPUs that have the same marks on it doesn't matter if it's from, a year before or a year after. If they're the same speed, the same everything, then yes, they should work. No problem there. A lot of people think that they have to come from the same silicon wafer, which is false, because guess what? They're all the exact same circuitry inside of there. There's nothing different from one CPU wafer or from one silicon wafer to another silicon wafer. There's nothing different about them. And
there's also the argument that, between one wafer and the other one, there might be a small percentage of quality or something, blah, blah. But think of it this way. If you insist on having two chips from the same wafer, you might have two slow-ass chips, and if you get one from this wafer and one from this one of them is guaranteed to be faster, by that logic. So you're even better off getting no match pairs at all.
Yeah. But that doesn't even matter, because quite honestly, in the testing, what happens is they test it beyond a certain degree, and at that point, they go, okay, well, this one meets a certain whatever, and they downclock it. The chips are actually not clocked at their full potential. They're clocked quite a bit below it. So it doesn't even matter if it came from different wafers. You got a good wafer, slow wafer, fast wafer. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be the same at the end of the day.
Here's the thing, too, is the quality control from Intel, okay, is going to be very stringent, okay? They're not going to sit there and have one wafer be completely different from another wafer. I mean, they're going to be almost identical. I don't see...
One is handled by the interns with the greasy hands, and the other one by the guy in the moon suits. That's not how it works.
Yeah. So I don't see a problem with the wafers being on different wafers.
The problem I see is that people try to squeeze $50 extra out of it on eBay just because they're supposedly matched.
Yeah, that's what I have a problem with.
BS.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Jay, you've been looking for a set of CPUs, and I got my set of CPUs, the 5675s that I got in this machine, I got for $50 on eBay.
Yep.
Jay has been trying to find a set for that price and has been unsuccessful because everybody wants...
I got a set now, 55.
Yeah, 55. But what were some of the other ones we saw in there? Like $80, $90, some of them?
I think the standard was $100. And if you have them delidded, add 20 more bucks.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a way to squeeze an extra dollar out of it, in my opinion. Like Rudy said, in the 3,1 it matters up to a point. But in this case, the discussion was about a 4,1 or 5,1, and it doesn't matter whatsoever. So,
Well, in 3,1
it
only matters because certain ones are not compatible, but that I don't understand why. It's just a magnet. Yeah. I think it's a code issue or something like that. I don't remember.
Like when you do an update for macOS, you still get the same microcode pushed to your CPU. You still get the same firmware, the same boot ROM, all that stuff. It doesn't matter if they're not exactly matched. And besides, there's no way to verify that two CPUs that are being sold as a matched pair actually came from the same wafer. There's no way to check. So,
well, even if you got a letter from Intel, there's no way they're going to even know because they make thousands of those things. And I'm sorry, but you might get a CPU from one wafer and another wafer straight from Intel, and you might think that because they came in the same box doesn't mean that they came from the same wafer.
Yeah, I mean, there's one way to check. Delid your CPUs with a vise. It'll crack it in half, and then you can put it under a microscope and see if there's any differences.
And then suck out the inside, swirl it around in your mouth a little bit, and if it tastes sour, then you got it.
Yeah. Wow, that was just way too weird.
Any other questions?
I don't even know what to say to that.
The CPU.
That's why I'm here.
Before we move on.
No.
All right.
I think that kind of settles it a little.
I think it does too. I think we all pretty much in agreement there. So, all right, next topic: Mac Pro Pixla mod update. So I'm going to throw this over to Jay.
Yes, guaranteed to have a debate going on at least twice a week on any of the given Facebook groups that we're in. I got this GPU. How should I power it? I jump in with Pixla's mod, because why not? Greg will jump in, Pixla's mod. Someone else will jump in, no, 6-pin power is enough. And it's always the same people. It's always the same stories. And I've been a big proponent of the Pixla's mod, but even I had to admit that the facts on which I was basing that recommendation were stuff that I heard over the years, you know. So I was like, let me dig into this and find out what's really going on. So the two things that made up the recommendation for the Pixels mod: the mini 6-pin connector can provide no more than 75 watts of power. That's what we all hear. That's what we all go by. Long story short, that is absolutely not the case. Theoretically, it can provide at least 280 watts per single 6-pin. The second fact, the traces in the Mac Pro logic board are not thick enough to sustain more than 75 watts of power. If you pull more from it, you're going to burn out your board. Stuff is going to melt down, explode, you know, big mushroom clouds. Don't do it. That's also not the case because we cannot see those traces. I took a board out of a Mac Pro, checked both sides. The traces for the 12 volts are inside the board layers. We have no idea how big or small they are. So based on that, the whole recommendation for the Pixels mod kind of goes out the window. Do I still recommend it? Yes. If you have a card that requires more than 300 watts of power, the Vega 56 is one of them. Or if you have a card that requires a 6-pin and an 8-pin connector, you want to balance that out either through a Pixels mod or with one of those EVGA power links. Now, there's a lot more to it. I'm going to post a link in the chat. Sign into chat? I didn't sign in. I am signed in. Ah, shit, you're
Now
killing me.
Jake's having issues.
Seriously, man. Google. I'll put a link in the chat and in the description as well at the end of it. And you can read all about it. But yeah, the Pixels mod, if the reason that someone gives you is that 75 watts is the max or the traces are too thin, basically they don't really know what they're talking about and they're just perpetuating hearsay, which is up to 2 weeks ago what I did. So I researched it for myself and I found a lot of useful information. A bunch of people in the Mac Pro Upgrade group helped me out with this. Greg helped me out with testing. A lot of spec sheets, data sheets, forums, and people that actually did the testing. They hooked up their Vega 56 to the ports and had the shutdowns and documented it. We researched the crap out of it. So agree or disagree, but there's a lot more to it than just those little facts that we keep perpetuating. They're not true, and there's more to it. So if you have a powerful card, or you're thinking about getting a powerful card, Pixlos mod is always the safe way to go. It'll work on a GT120. No, wait, that doesn't have any pins. Whatever the weakest card is, 5770,
Yeah.
or on a Vega 56. It'll work whether you put a Titan in there or a weak card. If you don't want to go that route, do some research, read the blog article that I wrote, and draw your own conclusion. And if anything, just test it. If you get a shutdown, your Mac is not going to melt, but then you'll know that you need something more. So
now, Jay, there is one thing I want to discuss about that since we're on this subject here.
Yep.
Is you and I had this little discussion with one guy on there about regulated and unregulated.
Oh, dude, no,
power supply
not again.
Using the
No.
The guy basically was telling me and Jay that because the power supply is unregulated, the power coming from the Pixels mod is unregulated, that it could destroy the graphics card if you had a shutdown or whatnot. And we had to correct him on that because the power supply in a Mac Pro is a regulated power supply. All power supplies on computers are regulated because an unregulated power supply does not control the amount of voltage. It's fluctuates. Okay, a regulated power supply keeps a constant voltage on there. Then his other argument was,
all switching power supplies are regulated.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, his second argument against it, after we kind of corrected him on that, his second argument was that, well, it's, the card's not going to, it's not going to know how much power to draw off of there. And we're like, the power supply only provides the power it needs. So if the GPU needs 50 watts, it's going to provide it 50 watts.
His reasoning was that the power supply pushes out current.
Yes.
It's not the case. Whatever component needs current pulls it out of the power supply.
Exactly.
So the power supply, the reasoning was that by using the Pixels mod, 10,000 volts are blasting through that cable into your GPU because it's unregulated. The logic board actually has no protections in place. All the protections are inside the power supply. Mm-hmm. The logic board has some current sensing and some chipsets on there that monitor things, but the logic board does not decide when there's too much current being drawn. The power supply does.
Yes.
So his solution was, no. I don't do the Pixels mod. I got an ATX power supply sitting on top of my Mac Pro, and it's like that. Basically, you're doing the Pixels mod with a different source that the Mac can't even monitor.
Sounds like something I
So
would do.
Well, see,
it
here's the thing,
does. It
though.
really
He
does.
Here's the
doesn't
thing.
understand how powering anything works or how power supplies work in a
Well,
basic sense.
here's his thing, though. His power supply, he said he could actually change the power output on each device connected. Well, that's all
What?
fine and dandy, but let's say the graphics, you set the graphics card for 50 watts, but yet the graphics card all of a sudden needs 75 watts. It can't pull that now because the power supply is saying, nope, I'm not giving you,
Yeah.
50 or but 50 watts. That's all you're getting. So guess
And
what?
I'm not making fun of the guy because he doesn't
No.
understand the subject. There's plenty in this world that I don't understand, and if someone could teach me or correct me on it, my pride is not going to get in the way to learn. But sometimes when you're talking about a group like Mac Pro Upgrade or the low-end Mac, there are a lot of people there that know what the hell they're talking about. And if they're all saying the same thing, you might want to listen.
In fact, Jay and I weren't the
And
only two that were saying that. We had a couple others.
no, I'm not saying that I'm one of the smart people there.
Yeah.
There's people that are a lot
yeah.
smarter than I am. But yeah,
Now-
it's you're there for the resources, so you want to be in that group because it's full of people that know what they're doing. So when someone proves you wrong or tells you that's not how it works, and then 10 more people show up to do the same, you might want to listen. That's all I'm saying.
But
Yeah.
to be honest with you, this guy basically said, nope, I'm not listening. And he just kind of tuned us out. It's like,
Which is unfortunate.
Also sounds like me. No.
no.
It does. It really does.
If someone tells me something and I go and look it up and I say, okay, yeah, I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong. But this one guy did not want to admit he was wrong.
No, dude, and this is going off topic, but I love being proven wrong because it means I learned something. But that's not a common thing.
True.
So
True.
Exactly.
hell, my article on how to do the Pixels mod, I think it's pulling 6 digits at this point since I read it in the amount of views. It's linked everywhere. It's referenced everywhere. I don't make a penny off it, but it's the guide to go to if you want to do the Pixels mod.
Dude, I used your guide when I did mine live.
Yeah, and then the same guy that wrote that guide, fully convinced that that guide was the way to go, now writes an article that says, you might not need this. Like, who would do that? I would do that because I learned something new. I still recommend the Pixels mod because I prefer better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people don't want to. The ego gets in the way. They don't want to hear it. They know what they know. And that's not how you learn. And if you are dealing with a computer and you're wrong about something and you don't want to learn, you might end up breaking that computer. So,
well,
not
why
a
do you
good
think
idea.
I got with you guys all of a sudden? Because there's a lot about Mac Pros I didn't know about. I just became a Mac Pro user just recently. So
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about these things. And I'll admit, I don't know a lot about Mac Pros, But
You don't know a lot about a lot of things,
yeah,
like OBS, for example.
no, OBS
Good.
was working. So
Now
Jay,
I want to put
since we're
something out
streaming,
there though.
I would say something, but I won't because we're streaming.
All right, but I want to say something to make sure it's out there for anybody that's watching, so you get a basic understanding of how power supplies work. All switching power supplies, which by the way, after a certain year, all power supplies are basically switching. You want to, when you're powering a device, you have to match the volts, and then the current needs to be above that, which would be your amps. So match volts, higher amps, because if you have higher volts, you're going to burn something and destroy it. Or if you have low volts, you're not going to provide it the proper volts, and it won't function properly. It can also destroy itself. So that's power supply basics 101.
Well, just think of it this way, and this is the way I learned out between volts, and amps. Volts are basically the pipe, the size of the pipe. The amps is the amount of stuff you're pushing through that pipe. That's pretty much how it works. It's like water; you can only push so much through. So, in order to go higher amperage, you have to go higher voltage. So you can only go a certain amount. There's a certain level that you can meet, and then you can't go any higher unless you go higher in volts. You have to.
I see your point, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's getting into more advanced, where you start getting
It's-
into the theoretical
yeah.
side of
Yeah,
it.
you lost me, dude.
So, but anyways, all right. So let's go on. Are we beat this one into the ground?
Like a dead
No,
horse.
it'll keep coming up on Facebook, and we're gonna keep talking about it once in a while until it sticks,
Well, that's
or until
almost like the
someone proves us
delitting.
wrong.
Well, that's almost like the
Sure.
delitting one. But it came back up again in one of the groups, and it's going through an ugly, between Vice and Heat.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. So next topic is browsers. What is your favorite web browser then and now? So back in the day and now. Um, what was it that Netscape just had an anniversary? I think, Steve.
I believe so, and I'm actually trying to
In,
load it up here.
In 1995, on August 8th, Netscape Communicator went public. And I
that's what it
gotta
was.
say, Internet Explorer was my first. Wait, was it? I don't even remember which browser came with macOS 8.6, but I used Netscape for years, and I loved it.
Microsoft Internet Explorer
Yeah, it
came with
was?
They did ship with
Okay.
both of them, I believe.
You might be right on that.
Yeah,
'cause
they
this is a
did.
fresh install, and it has both in them.
Okay.
Well,
You have
I
proven me
remember.
wrong, sir.
I remember Netscape Navigator when it first came out. I used it in dial-up, as a matter of fact, because that's back in the day. And you didn't have the fancy graphics or anything you had with it. It was like that. It was pretty much you had a lot of text with links, and that was it.
It worked.
But it worked.
Yep. And it had a built-in email client that I used pretty much right away. I think it was Pop Email at the time, and
Yeah.
that was my first email client. And I used Netscape alongside Internet Explorer because there were some websites that just didn't render well in Netscape, and Internet Explorer had their own idea of how to render things that was sometimes better, sometimes a lot worse.
Well, that's because Microsoft had their own little. They went off the standard, and
Yeah.
some websites would actually use Microsoft's standard.
But yeah, I went from Netscape to Internet Explorer. That was already well into macOS 10, and then Safari, and then about 10 years ago, I think I went to Firefox, and I've never looked back. And
Go ahead.
Dan is asking if I've heard of Brave. I've heard of it. I've never tested it though. I really should.
Oh, looking it up here. Holy, interesting. Okay.
Now, the two I use the most are Safari, and I use Firefox sometimes. So that's the only two I have on it. Now, you will not find me using Chrome ever on this computer.
Never.
Now, let's talk about that with Rocky. I bet he uses it.
Oh yeah, of course he does.
Okay. My first web browser that I liked Netscape. I really did. That was my favorite back in the day. Nowadays, I use multiple browsers because there isn't a favorite. They all suck in one way or another, to be honest. I use a lot of Firefox. I use a lot of Chrome because sites that I use work well in both. Matter of fact, I used to use Safari quite heavily, except that one took a turn for the worst, and now it's just almost as bad as Edge, which is the evolution of Internet Barf Explorer. Internet Explorer took a nosedive after 5. So I don't really have a favorite now. And I still use Opera for downloading. That one's my favorite for downloading.
And you know what's funny is I don't even use Edge on Windows. I
don't think anybody does.
The only time I use Edge is to download Firefox.
Yeah.
That's the use for Internet Explorer, too.
And Rocky, you might notice Matthew was saying, "What about Google slowing down YouTube and other services when you're not using Chrome? Was that a rumor?"
That's a rumor.
That's probably a rumor because I don't see any.
It's an absolute rumor.
Okay. What about you, Mike?
Yeah. Jinx.
I can't even see you back there. Hello.
My first.
Mike, are you there?
Well, I'm just kind
there
of
he is.
chilling out, leaning back in my chair, waiting for the conversation to flow my way. So, I used Netscape heavily back in the '90s. I used Internet Explorer in the early 2000s on OS 9, and to Jay's chagrin, now I use Chrome because it's. First of all, I was using it for a long time before Firefox ever became a viable option. So, and I was using it on my PC for years before I switched back over to Mac. So it just kind of followed me. So it's slow and it's bloated, but I mean it serves its purpose. So.
Yeah, it's Firefox has come a long way. I think 2 years ago they released Firefox Quantum, and that really blew the lid off of it for my use. I got, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 13 windows for Firefox open with 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, roughly 20 tabs apiece. And Firefox handles it like a pro. Now, before they relabeled it Firefox Quantum, the entire app, regardless of how many windows and tabs you had, was all one process, and it would choke the hell out of your Mac. And now each window and each tab has its own process, which you can see in Activity Monitor. So if one tab is running a YouTube video, the other tab, is doing something intense. They all have the same resources available, which it flies. Even now, with all these windows and tabs open, Firefox is super responsive.
Well, so Safari does the same thing now too. You'll see different tabs have different.
My problem
processes.
with Safari is that Apple, in their infinite wisdom, locked it down so much you can't even install an ad blocker anymore. You can't install any plugins without doing some convoluted. It's ridiculous.
I have ad blocker on mine.
If you want to run an ad blocker in Safari, the ad blocker application has to run in the background for the plugin to work. And
I never noticed that on mine.
It's really stupid. And, all the plugins available for Firefox, I got Privacy Badger, I got NoScript, I got AdBlock, Private Internet Access. Sky's the limit when it comes to plugins for Firefox. So it's a really versatile browser. And I use it, and it's synchronized with my phone. I got Firefox on the phone as well. It's my go-to browser.
I didn't
and
know.
James
that's right. Firefox does have a browser on the phone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. They update it frequently. James is saying if Firefox is kind of slow on your system, try SeaMonkey. I haven't tried any of those.
What is SeaMonkey?
I think it's a Firefox.
I thought that was a skimmed-down version of Firefox.
Yeah. I
kind of like Opera's based on the Chrome browser base as well as just like Google is, and it's
I use Opera
faster.
too every day. By the way,
yeah, Opera's amazing. I like Opera.
Opera, I use it for one website and one website only. And that's Facebook.
Well,
Opera has a built-in VPN that's always on, and I use Facebook for it, so it can't snoop on my cookies, my other tabs, my other traffic. Facebook is isolated in an Opera window, and that's it.
Well, here's the thing we've noticed about Facebook, too, a little bit off topic there, but it uses a ton of resources when you have on one tab. Because I've had what was that?
Mike!
Hi.
Mike!
It's always Mike. I didn't even know for sure, but
I was like, what was that?
I clicked on something on my computer and made noise.
So I think you were testing that with Steve, weren't you? Or with Rocky? I forgot.
Wendy goes,
that was one of them.
No comment.
That's what Firefox is for porn. That's why you get all the blockers and the.
Not that any of us would know such a thing. No,
no, it's not. It's not like Rocky is an expert on the subject.
No.
Oh my goodness.
He never makes typos either, right, Rocky?
No, not at all. Never.
That A and O, those are
opposite sides of the keyboard.
I remember when I got, I think the first internet Mac I had, I think it only had Netscape on it. I don't think I had Internet Explorer on it, because I don't think it was until 1997 until Apple got a boatload of cash from Microsoft, and the agreement was that IE would be the default internet browser on the Mac OS. And I think both were still installed because Steve Jobs got booed on stage when they mentioned it. And he says both are installed and you can, you can switch if you want to. Both are still in the system. But I remember having to go back and forth because back in the day, like Jay was saying, some sites would load better on one browser versus another. Now that's not entirely like out of the ordinary today. You might get one or two pages that like Firefox loads a bit better, Chrome loads a bit better, but they're like so similar that there's not as much of a problem as there used to be. But yeah, if nobody, if any of you in the chat are too young to remember those days, I mean, I still
Oh, that
remember
was bad.
making websites and having to test with IE6, just because that
Yep.
was like the common denominator of everybody. But it wasn't until I think it was the early 2000s when Microsoft announced that I think IE 5.1 or whatever was the last version that would ship for the Mac. Now, honestly, IE version like 4.5 and 5, they were pretty damn fine browsers. Like I never really had problems with them. I would always have Netscape Communicator open because I preferred that. I never really dove into like the email side of things, but my dad used that, and that was like his whole suite. His email, he had everything through there. But I didn't have email for a long time, so I was just used to the browser. But yeah, when Microsoft pulled the plug for IE, then I used Safari for a bit. I do use Chrome at work a lot because that's what we have installed. At home, I switch between Firefox, Safari, and Chrome depending on. Like I'll have one browser with all my logins for work, one browser with all my logins for my social media stuff or whatever. So there are other ways to organize it, but it's just the way I found it. And yeah, thankfully it's not as problematic as it used to be.
Well, do you remember that downloading stuff? If you had a file download, it would always be faster in Internet Explorer.
Yep.
Netscape was kind of just hanging there, and it was always slower for me.
Well, I think the problem was that Netscape's first iteration of the download manager was terrible, and Internet Explorer had a pretty decent download manager from a very early point on the Mac. Because I remember on Netscape, whenever you would download something, it would like get to the end, and then it would just like hang out there, and you'd have to hit that stop button again and again. Now that I'm full screen, I could show, the Netscape browser a little closer, but this is the little stop button you'd have to hit to stop loading the page or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm moving around here. Sorry. There we go. And I just like the look of Netscape. I always like the little animated icon at the top. But the OS 10 versions were very memory intensive. I didn't really care for those once AOL bought them. They tried to make Netscape like AOL Lite, and I didn't really like that.
Yeah, and like you said, the testing for compatibility, Aliki said it as well. I had Virtual PC installed with Windows 95 just to be able to test on Internet Explorer on a PC. If a website, oh my God, it was a nightmare.
I got a T-shirt from VMware because in 2007 or so, they were doing a contest that if you told them your story about how you use VMware, you got, you could win a grand prize. I didn't win the grand prize. I got a T-shirt. But that's what I said was I was testing websites and I would use, their product to see how something looked in another browser. No, Netscape is not ugly. I
like Netscape.
I wish I found it for this video.
Put it this way, Netscape started.
I have an update. Sorry.
I was going to say Netscape is the granddaddy of all browsers. I mean, if it wasn't for Netscape, you wouldn't have all the browsers you have.
That's why I love it.
Yep.
Now, I do want to update about Brave. I just installed it. It is based on Chromium, and it looks like it has a bunch of the blocker stuff already pre-installed.
Well, that won't go on my system. It's based on
Not
Chrome.
bad, so bad. Well, it's based on Chromium. There's a difference. Google didn't necessarily invent Chromium. Chromium is browser-based. That is, I can't remember who developed it, but
it still sounds.
That's what Opera is based on. Opera is based on that as well. Opera is a Chromium browser.
I gotta admit, I haven't really looked into any other browser because I'm very happy with Netscape, especially Firefox. Especially since they did the whole quantum thing. Rocky is about to blow that water all over it. Okay.
I almost did.
But I will look into it just because I'm curious. And again, there might be something better out there that I'm not aware of.
Well, you got to remember, Firefox is kind of an offshoot from Netscape.
Yeah.
So it's based on the Well,
What was it
I don't
the
think
Gecko
anymore, but
Gecko engine or something? I think
something
that
like
was
that. I think
the
it's
early
totally
Netscape
different
one.
now, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah,
But I think they're all WebKit based now, right? Or something like that. Or
I'm not sure.
what's there was one thing that they're like 90% shared common or something. Maybe it used
All
to
I
be that way, and
know,
I'm just an old man.
all I know is that every time there's a macOS update, and you look at the security content of that update, you got like 50 security issues were patched. 30 of them were WebKit. So there's so much wrong with WebKit, and you know that if they patch it today, they're already working on 30 to 50 more vulnerabilities that will be ready for the next update.
Oh,
So
of course, yeah.
Of
from a
course.
security perspective, I don't put a lot of faith in Safari because of that reason, but I might be wrong.
So if I install the Netscape version from 2007, you're
You
saying
are safe,
from a
sir.
security perspective, I'm
Yes.
okay. All right, good.
You are
We'll go
okay.
with that.
And
Nothing can touch me.
if you dial up through your Raspberry Pi, nobody would be stupid enough to try to hack you because it would take forever.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Might
All
not
right,
be able to
guys.
watch YouTube, but
One half of a frame by a time.
All right, we ready
All
for
you
our
need.
next topic here?
No, are you?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it.
I just wanted to
This
say I
is
remember Firefox like version 3 on OS 10 being like rock solid, like 3.6 or whatever. I just remember that being like my go-to in Tiger.
Yeah.
Move on.
Well, just
Sorry.
like every other piece of software out there, browsers eventually cram too much crap in there and it becomes bloatware. And not every developer wakes up in time to strip it back down to basics and re-release it. And it took Firefox a long time, but they finally did. So
it's almost
and
like the iTunes of browsers, right?
yeah, and I do not remember iCap. I've heard about it, but I've never used it.
Yeah, I used it like
that was a long
the
time
last
ago,
few years of me using Classic. It was okay, but I was already on OS 10 by then.
Oh, dude, what are we? Sorry, what are we doing? Classilla is the
Oh
go-to
yeah,
browser for OS 9, of course. We got to mention that one.
that's a good. That I got to install that in this iBook.
Yeah, because Classilla
R-
is Netscape adjusted and updated and all that, and I run that.
R10 Fox.
10 for
Yeah.
Fox for
A fork of
PCs.
Firefox.
OS 10. Yep.
You can't. Yeah, it's got to be OS 10. Yeah.
We've been talking about this for 20 minutes, and I feel ashamed.
Well, I
That
was
was
just
bad.
assuming that since we were talking about Netscape, we all, we were thinking of the derivatives of that, but whatever.
Nice save.
All right, guys. So this next topic is kind of funny because if you guys are a fan of Crazy Ken's Tech Misadventures and you watched his latest video today, you'll see that Maciak got a really good shout out today on his newest video. And that is because he actually had a computer that basically it went boom. Actually,
Spoiler alert.
pow, boom.
Well, he starts his video with that, so it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah. So if you guys go and watch it,
Not now.
not now. Wait till it. But go and watch it. He does give us a pretty good shout out. But Jay and I tried to help him figure out what it was until Jay found out, oh, you got a water cooled one. And then it went downhill from there.
Yeah. So definitely check out his video after this stream. And thank you, Ken, if you ever see this, for the shout out. But it was fun. But we were wondering, have any of us and everybody currently watching, have you ever had a computer like pop, sizzle, smoke, meltdown, or something crazy happen? I want to know.
One person we're missing today, it would take him 6 hours to probably talk about all the computers he
Oh,
no.
Those
Wait.
That's a conservative estimate.
I gotta elaborate.
Yeah.
Not stuff that you caused by bleeding on it, but something that just was out of your control.
I have actually back when I was still a retail repair person for a company in the local area.
God,
There
you were a Geek
was
Squad?
no. Are you kidding me? That's shameful. Anybody that works for Geek Squad
How dare
should be
you,
ashamed. But
Sorry.
no, it was an actual legit retail firm where we did legit repairs, and I was Mac certified there. So okay, I had clients, and they were Dell workstations, and they were making a screeching noise, which annoyed one of the people, and they're like, it just keeps shutting down. I went out there, looking this machine over, it's screeching. Next thing I know, smoke is billowing out the back of it as it's frying itself. It was great. And then they called me into another room, which was filled with smoke because, they were all just melting down, literally. It was phenomenal.
That was fun.
Well, that beats our stories, I guess.
Yeah, well.
Actually, I could probably do one better on that.
Here we go.
So, okay, probably about 7-8 years ago now. I was still with my ex-wife. We had I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was doing something. I was living in a mobile home at the time, and it's from the 70s. So the electrical system was a little flaky to begin with. Well, we found it was actually a nice place. She still lives there. So we found out that one of the neutral lines going from the fuse panel to the meter outside was actually corroded, and it took out one of the entire bus bars on my fuse panel. Well, this sent a huge electrical surge through the whole house. Luckily, my office with all of my computers was on the opposite bus bar, so it didn't affect them. However, it actually set my wife's computer on fire. Literally, the damn thing was flaming. And this is no joke. Now, and this was a PC, of course. It wasn't
That was
a Mac.
the fastest that PC ever ran.
But you're right. It was the fastest that thing ever ran. I couldn't get that thing out of the house fast enough. I'm freaking out. Shit, there's a fire in my trailer. It's like, these two things don't mix. It's like a tornado, you know? There's only two things that will kill a trailer, a tornado and a fire. And, oh, my God. You've never seen me panic so bad. I've been working on computers for 30-plus years. I've probably had 100 power supplies blow a cap and stuff like that. It's a common occurrence, you know? I put the emissions machine I have at work, we've had since 2006. And it's a first-gen Pentium 4. And I think I've replaced 8 power supplies in that because of caps exploding over the years. I finally got tired of it and put a good one in.
Garrett is asking real
Did I ever get it running? You know what? The funny thing is yes, I did actually. I don't know what I actually replaced the power supply and the computer actually still worked. It was an AMD Phenom 2 X3 triple core processor machine I had built. Oh my God, years before, and somehow the power it had a really good power supply in it. It had an Antec, I think, and it must have arrested the surge inside the power supply and didn't keep it from going to the board.
Wow.
I was amazed myself. I was shitting bricks that day.
Well,
oh my God, did that smell? Oh Lord!
One, I was trying to think of one that happened to me, and now you reminded me, and it came back to me now. I had it was a PC, because this is before my Apple days. It was a PC, and we had a good thunderstorm. This was back when I was living in Georgia.
You know, the topic is, ever had a Mac go boom?
No, I've not had a Mac go boom, but I just want to talk about this one.
I've had a Mac go boom before.
Maybe because it's PCs that go boom more than Macs. But hey.
You're right, they do.
As they should.
Anyways, we had a bad thunderstorm in the area, and we had a lightning bolt hit the cable tap right outside our house. I mean, it was so loud, it shook the whole house. You know, that's how close the lightning bolt was. So I go out to look at my computer, and it wouldn't turn on. And I'm like, oh. So what had happened was that the lightning traveled through the cable modem, fried the cable modem, went through the LAN cable to my LAN card, and blew out the solder joints on the LAN card. I mean, the solder was, you could see little smoke marks coming off where the solder was.
Holy cow.
So I thought, oh, my computer's dead. It's gone. So it wouldn't boot up. So then I said, let me try something. So I pulled out that LAN card that was fried, and I tried to boot up the computer. Computer booted up, no problem. I was like, wow, is that it? Just the LAN card is fried? So apparently it only got as far as the connector going in from the LAN jack, and that's it. It blew out the solder joints, and other than that, there was no damage to the computer. But yeah, that's my one time that it went boom. And it was a big boom.
We got Wendy in the chat said I almost had a battery pop up out of my Mac, which if you ever had a MacBook Pro before they become unibody, you're very familiar with the swelling of the batteries and then popping out the bottom case. Actually, have you ever had a piece of Mac slap you in the face as you take it apart? I had
I have not had
question.
that.
Serious question. I had that yesterday, and I got it in my bag here. I'll show you.
I've never been slapped by my Mac before.
So
You haven't lived.
I have. I got slapped by this Mac, and I will take this
You
cover
got
off.
slapped?
I got slapped like a little bit. Yep.
Waiting for that, yeah.
So, you know,
because you're not supposed to repair it. That's why you got smacked.
so you got the bottom case, right? This is the bottom case. It was on this Mac, but it had some grimy stuff that went into the edges. So when I took the screws out, and I'm going to hold this up as best as I can. When I took the screws out, it was actually the grime and dirt that held the cover down.
Oh.
As soon as I touched, the last screw was out, it was just sitting there. And I touched it, and the cover pops up, hits me in the chin, and falls on the floor. So you wonder why? Well, that's why. The battery was swelling like crazy. And the pressure was so big. The swelling actually went down a little. The pressure was so big that it popped up, hit me in the chin, and I got slapped by a Mac. It's the first ever for me.
So James says he had a Nintendo 64 fall on his head, but never slapped by a Mac.
Yep. You haven't lived until you got slapped by a Mac.
If you're talking about,
it was Steve Jobs ghost slapping you, Steve.
If you're talking about getting injured by computers, I have plenty of stories of me walking around and slamming
that's why we need Greg here.
my ankle into the side of a G5 tower or something.
Yeah, Grudy has bled so much on computers, Macs especially.
I've just been bruised heavily. I mean, you carry one of those huge 20-inch CRTs and you pinch your finger under the monitor stand, you're going to remember it.
Oh, yeah.
I remember a friend telling me a story about he used to work in a school with iMac G3s, and I guess they didn't safely discharge the CRT, and so he's taken off the lid to the iMac, and I guess he must have bridged something, and this is his story, so I don't know if it's 100% true, but apparently a small flame sparked up and made a scorch mark in the ceiling.
Wow.
So he bridged something pretty bad. But they were trying to fix a bad flyback transformer on the iMac, so I don't think that was a smart idea to begin with to toy around with that. But.
I actually had, when you work at Apple, if you're a genius, you have such a thing called a lead genius. He runs the team, basically, and he's supposed to have all the answers, which they don't, but that's neither here nor there. A customer, while I was working at Apple, comes in with a power supply for an Xserve. Now, you try to find anyone in an Apple store that even knows what an Xserve is. Like, is that a McDonald's meal? They have no idea. So I offered to take the power supply in the back, open it up, see if there was an obvious cause. What's what. I walk into the genius room, and I freaking hate that word because back in those days we were not that smart at all.
Well, they're still not that smart.
They still aren't. I walk in, my lead sends me back out. Like, dude, we're too busy. Get back out to the bar. I'll take care of this. Before I leave the room, I hear like a yelp that I can't even recreate. Like someone stepped. Kind of, yeah. Like someone stepped on a little girl or something. I don't know. He opened up the power supply, not knowing what it even was, and started just taking the
Oh,
dust out
no.
with his fingers, and that thing was fully charged, and it had him buzzing for a good 20 minutes without knowing what room he was in. There was a lot of charge in that thing, and I've never heard a grown man yell like that, but it was pretty funny.
That's great.
Oh, I've been zapped by electricity before. That's no fun. But
I've
Oh,
never
Oh,
been
no.
zapped.
Oh,
I've
well,
been
been
zapped.
I've zapped myself pretty good. What was I doing? I was taking apart something recently, and they were capacitors, and I didn't realize. And two of my fingers went from one capacitor to the other, and I'm going, "Zzz," and I'm like, "What the hell was that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm working on some these
Wait, was it
capacitors, so
this?
some juice in it." Yeah, exactly. I was very, very quick to be careful of what I was working on from then on. But the first time I ever got zapped, it was similar. I took apart a PowerBook, I think it was a 540, and it must have been the capacitors on the LCD because I took the frame off, and I'm like, oh, let me turn it on. And I'm holding the LCD, probably my fingers on the caps, turn the thing on, and I'm like, what's that smell? My fingers were burning because it's just so much voltage going through that passive matrix LCD.
God. Yeah, it's funny how slow you are in those situations. Yesterday, I'm soldering a board. I got my heat gun on an SMC chip, and I hear tsk. I'm like, huh, that's a weird sound. Oh shit! Like your brain is so freaking slow when that happens. Like, oh, what just happened? I heard something.
that's because everything just slows down when you're touching electricity. It's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
Yeah,
just
you
stupid.
can't get away fast enough.
Dude,
Now,
Garrett has a point. Like he says, I took apart a CRT monitor as a kid, and it's a wonder I didn't get zapped. The stuff
Oh,
I used to
yeah.
take apart when I was
I
a
did
kid.
that too.
Holy crap, dude! I shouldn't even be here. But
I can't even remember how many CRTs I pulled apart before.
and now you sit here, you read all the instructions. Well, no one ever really does
and you
that, but
still don't even want
you
to
have
touch
all the
it.
warnings. You do everything right, and you still mess up, or in Grudy's case, bleed all over the place. And as a kid, you just did it, and you were fine. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't know how I
remember
survived.
I remember learning about electricity and then had my Sega Genesis power brick plugged into the wall, and I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I lick the tip of the other end. Well, I soon found out what happens when you lick the tip of the other end.
You ever take a 9-volt battery, put it to your dog?
Oh, I did
No,
that.
I have not.
Oh, I think everybody's done that as a kid.
Ugh.
Come on.
Except Steve.
I had a 9-volt power supply from the mains going to my tongue, so I think I'm good there.
Look, you guys have never lived until you've shorted out a car battery with your wedding ring.
Oh, I can't
You're not coming over anymore.
It's only 12 volts, but let me tell you, that 800 amps will light your ass up quick.
Yeah,
I
the
can
amps
tell
are
you,
what's gonna get
I can tell you a story about that one, and there's a reason I don't ever wear a ring anymore. Thanks to my stepfather being the dork that he is. When the instruction manual, when you're replacing the alternator, when the instruction manual tells you disconnect the positive battery lead, they're not telling you that just for extra steps. Yeah, you really ought to do that.
God. Pro tip. Oh,
Yeah. It took a year and a half for the burn on my hand to heal.
Ooh.
Oh, by the way, everybody watching, Mike here is a mechanic. And we have been trying to push him to start doing videos on his mechanic stuff. So everybody lay in some peer pressure, leave a comment, tell him to do it, or else maybe he'll do it. But since this topic was a fair amount of batteries in one way or another, why don't we segue into the battery-related subject that we have lined up?
Where we got that in? Oh, it's
Don't even get me started on this.
It's actually the next section. So. All right, so let's go into our next topic here: history, news, and rumors. Now, one of the things that Jay came out and showed me today, and I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about it so far, is iFixit.com came out with a story that Apple is actually locking its batteries to the iPhones
And
now.
I need to take this call outside because this gets me so worked up. I need to pace around to talk.
Yeah.
About it.
Okay, well, first of all, why are we even surprised?
Well,
True.
we're not.
Because it's lame.
Apple has been trying to stop independent repair forever, and they secretly did this. It's only in the newest iPhones right now. It's in the iPhone XS, the R or the XR or whatever that's called, and the XS Max. It's only in those 3 phones right now. But what this guy did is he took an original Apple battery from another phone, put it in his phone, and it works. Now it does charge, it does do everything it's supposed to do, but however, when you go to the software section where it says battery, it says service the battery. So what they did is they locked it to the software to not show you the amount of charges or the power, amount of power that's left in the battery, stuff like that, will not show up because Apple is doing that to basically discourage independent repair shops.
And this might actually screw us. Because there's plenty of stuff that Apple pulls that we can kind of work around. But this, there's no way around it.
No.
For those that haven't read the news or the article, the new batteries have a Texas Instrument chipset in it that tells the phone the charge, the cycles, all that stuff. Texas Instruments put a feature in there that the chip kind of offers an encryption link between the battery hardware and the device it's in, whether it's an iPhone or something else. A lot of brands use these batteries. Apple saw that feature and went like, hey, we can use this. So now, like Greg said, even if you take a phone or take a battery from another iPhone XS, put it in, that encryption no longer matches up, and Apple or the phone will tell you your battery needs service. Now, for people like pretty much everyone here and everyone watching probably, not really a big deal, because we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to be happy with a fully charged battery and keep using our phone. But what when it comes time to sell your phone? You try selling a phone with a big warning in it that says your battery needs service. You can tell people that it's a brand new battery. Who's going to believe you on eBay or Facebook Marketplace?
Well,
Nobody.
Jay, it's not only that, but let's say you bring your phone to a independent repairer and they replace the battery, and then they get the same thing, and they say, "Well, wait, why is it still saying service? You didn't replace my battery. I want a refund."
Yep.
It's going to be the same thing. They're trying to discredit independent repair shops, and I think this is like this. They went too far on this one.
Yep.
Yes, but from their
T2
perspective,
chip of batteries.
Actually, it is, yeah. But from Apple's perspective, this was a fairly brilliant move to do what they wanted to do, because there's no way for us around this. You can take the battery apart, desolder that chip if you can get to it, and take the chip from your old battery.
But it's still going to serve the same number of cycles.
Unless if it accumulates, yes. But if it,
I'm pretty sure it will.
I don't know, because they respond well to a calibration. So.
But it's still going to say, okay, it has this number of cycles on it.
Someone has to test it, and I am not going to take a soldering iron anywhere near a battery. Yeah. So it's not going to be me.
In fact, the guy in the video even said, "Do not do this," because he was like, "Don't."
Well,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your sentence there, Greg.
No, I was done.
Everybody's complaining about right to repair with electronic devices. Well, we fight the same battle in automotive as well. And it's kind of interesting that these two worlds collide in this specific way. What Apple's doing is basically they're saying, well, your phone's not going to be right unless you take it to an Apple deal. Yeah, truthfully, I mean, I read the article. I read it on my lunch break today, while I was trying to eat lunch and people were pissing me off. But I read the article on iFixit's website, and truthfully, the repercussions of replacing the battery on your own are minor at this point. This point, okay, I think that these first 3 phones were an experiment to see if Apple could actually make this work. Now, I can tell you right now, every successive device that Apple makes, it's going to get worse. And this harkens back to the whole T2 chip and everything else that Apple's putting in their phones to basically lock it out so that nobody can touch anything. That's just like, I run an independent repair shop. We work on just about every make and model of car. Now, if you buy a Ford and you have to take it to a Ford dealer to replace the battery, or your battery light's going to be on your dashboard all the time, you're basically talking about the same thing. And this is what car manufacturers have been trying to do for at least 20 years, you know. And it's just, you know, Apple, I don't think Apple's really, I think in a way, I think they're kind of screwing themselves, because once people realize that they're not really driving more people to an Apple store or Apple service, they're just going to drive more people away from Apple, period.
That's my hope.
Yeah, and
But don't underestimate the amount of fanboys still out there.
Well, yeah, truthfully, I don't particularly care for Apple phones. I've never been a huge fan of them, but unfortunately, in 2019, you only have two choices. You have Android or you have Apple. There's nothing else. I used Windows phones for almost 15 years before that, and I loved them. But, you know, unfortunately, they're not around. So Android's operating system is way too open for my like. I don't like the fact that, first of all, it's extremely easy for hackers to get in, and the whole openness and open source of it just bothers me. Whereas
the amount of malware in those
whereas Microsoft and Apple have a proprietary, more locked down operating system, with the exception of Microsoft licensed it to other manufacturers, where Apple only uses it on their own devices, which, you know, is where the security really comes from. I mean, ever since BlackBerry kind of met their demise, I mean, Apple devices have been the replacement, so therefore, you know, it's the lesser of the two evils, unfortunately. Now, I'm the guy, I don't really give two craps if the battery light in my truck's on, because the check engine light's been on for the last 2 years, because I'm too lazy to replace an oxygen sensor. But it's, you know, so I'm the kind of guy who's not going to care if the battery says service. But like Jay said, now if I ever go to sell a device, which I don't have any of these new devices, I'm using an iPhone 6s Plus, for crying out loud. So, you know, I can see where, yeah, that's really going to take a hit, and then you're going to be forced to do, well, do you take it to an Apple store, do you pay them $200 to put a battery in a phone that's only worth $100, or you just say, oh, screw it, and just throw it in a drawer?
Yeah,
you know?
And that also plays into, just like what you're saying, sorry to interrupt you, but
oh, you're fine.
This is going to result in more phones being tossed or scrapped or being sold for less, or people say it's not even worth the risk of me selling this on eBay, someone using this to file a claim, and I'm out of my cash. And this plays directly against Apple's whole hypocritical claim of how green they are. Every step they take against the right to repair, in one way or another, goes against we're so green, look at us.
And I'm sure all that glue they're putting on their products ain't so green either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest problem with the batteries, is they glue them into there, for one thing.
Terrible.
I replaced a battery in my old iPhone 6, which I gave to my mother for a while to use. For whatever reason, her phone was not being happy. We were on vacation, of all places, ordered a battery, put the battery in the iPhone 6, and I was done. I didn't even bother to put in the adhesive strips, because I knew it was such a cheap battery that we paid for. I'd have to rip it out in a few months. Sure enough, I did. But, I mean, you get what you pay for, and at least, you know, I was able to, you know, open it up and replace the battery if I needed to. You know, the system wasn't going to shut down.
But, you know, on the other hand, too, is like, everybody's going to say that this is minor. So you just take it to an Apple store. Okay? Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, okay? And so does Rocky, and so does Greg Rucke. The closest Apple store to me is an hour and 15 minutes away in Lancaster.
3 hours in my case.
And it is not feasible for me to drive a 2001 Chevy pickup truck that has 320,000 miles, an hour and a half away, to get a freaking battery put in my damn phone when I can drive down to Batteries Plus, which is 20 minutes away, and have them put a battery in for, I'd say, roughly the same price. I mean, truthfully, the price difference isn't really that much.
Or have one delivered at home. Order it from iFixit or
But
something.
yeah, I mean, I would, now truthfully, I would do it myself. I'm saying if I was the average Joe Blow. I mean, I've replaced batteries in my iPads, my iPhones. I don't pay Apple for dick. I've only ever bought one brand new Apple device, and that's my iPad Pro. And I didn't even buy it from Apple. I bought it through a second party or a third party. So, that's, neither here nor there. But I haven't bought a new Apple product with the exception of that iPad my whole life. So I don't plan on giving Apple any more of my money than I have to. I like their product. I don't like their prices. They're just absolutely ridiculous.
I'm the same way. I like their products for the most part. Well, that's a lie. Not anymore. I'm still willing to use their I'm about their operating system.
Exactly.
Whether that's a Mac Pro or a Hackintosh,
Yeah.
I don't care as long as it works. I am firmly against their business practices, and every time they screw over us, the customer, the end user, I go out of my way to screw them out of whatever penny I can. Whether that's me personally not buying anything from them, or taking on a customer that says, I took this to the Apple Store, $1,250 on a depot repair that takes 7 days because I spilled a tiny drop of liquid on it that I can fix for $50 if I feel like I'm in the mood to offer such a discount. Let's say $200, $250 typically. I screwed Apple out of $1,200, and that makes me feel really good. Because every time they screw us over with these little stupid tricks, I just put the extra effort into making sure no money flows their way. And that's going to hurt my stock. I got a lot of Apple stock from when I worked there. I don't care. The only way they're going to improve their business practices is if they're going to feel it in their wallet. And that's going to take millions of people boycotting them or waking up and, just doing the same thing.
But Jay, you and I both know that that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately,
I don't
there's too many damn people drinking the freaking Kool-Aid.
Yeah. But Apple has also been messing up the last 5 years more than ever. Just the MacBook Pros alone.
Oh, yeah.
The batteries, the keyboards, the graphics, the throttling, they are taking a lot of PR hits that they can't really recover that well from. So, I don't know. The more they keep messing up, and just wait until that new Mac Pro is out. People are dropping $30,000 on a spec'd out Mac Pro.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2 years later, that T2 chip is going to prevent them from upgrading the CPU. Shit is going to hit the fan.
Well, and really, I mean, if you get down to it, I mean, their business practices are starting to become monopolistic in terms of.
You look like an evil villain with that cat.
Thank you. I feel like an evil villain with this cat. Cat is a jerk, but and I have I just get this sneaking suspicion that eventually it's going to come around and bite them in the ass.
Yep.
Because with the way that they're locking everything down and they're basically saying, well, you have to take this to Apple or you can't get it repaired. I think eventually, if enough people complain about it, they're gonna catch the attention of somebody who's actually going to be able to do something.
Yeah.
And right to repair legislation has been stalled for decades. Legislators they're useless. They're only going to do what makes them money. And the little guys like me and my stepdad who run a garage don't do shit for them. So they have no interest in right to repair legislation and actually getting it to go through as any type of law because there's no money in it for them. Whereas Apple, IBM, and Microsoft, Google, and all that, you're talking about billion-dollar companies who are throwing money. Say, don't here's $1 million. Don't let this go through legislation because it's going to hurt our bottom line. in such a tiny, minuscule way. You know, I mean, do you really think $1 billion company like Apple is going to feel anything from third-party repair companies?
No,
I mean,
just like I
surely.
doubted they felt anything from that battery thing, but they made such a fuss over it, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is maybe 1 in 10 people in Capitol Hill actually works there. The rest is all lobbyists. And the
Yeah.
people, if you've ever seen the hearings with that schmuck from Facebook, what's his name? Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Like they're questioning him, and he is smiling ear to ear because those people are so dumb. They have no idea what they're asking or what they should be doing. And Apple is getting to the point where they're becoming too big to fail. And there's
Yeah.
the amount of effort it's going to take to push them back into submission and make them a little bit humble again it's going to take a lot, but I think it's doable.
Now, here's my take on it, and this is one thing I think all companies that get big and get greedy because their shareholders are up the company's ass, that they forget the fact that, okay, let's look at the ecosystem here. Because they're Apple is trying very, very hard to prevent people from continuing to use products from whatever last generation, and they want to shove the new product in the rear end. So what they're forgetting, though, is just like with whether it be cars or anything else, that first person who buys this brand new product, they use it till the point that they don't want to use it anymore. They then turn around, flip it, sell it to the next guy. What are they going to do? They're going to buy another brand new one. So without the second party person there to purchase this used product, it's going to make it less able for the person who bought it originally brand new to buy the next new product. So they are hindering themselves in their own sales by hindering the ability for these products to last longer. They're also limiting the amount of people who get to enjoy the product down the road, which means you're going to gain new customers in the business. They're completely screwing themselves by forcing themselves into a box of expensive garbage, basically, and don't let it exist used. The greatest cars, the greatest anything of all time are all products that have lasted the test of time and therefore gain the loyalty of the customer base, which Apple did at one point and is not doing now. And that's going to cause them to fail. Just
They've
like
they've kind of lost their mojo from when they were trying to be different, and now they're not.
Oh yeah, definitely.
My God, that cat!
I just
Sorry, I
imagine
can't
it's
fix
Mike
the
making
cat.
the noise.
You just can't ignore it. I'm trying to think, and I'm just reading the same chat over and over and over because that cat is in my
Mike,
brain.
just move your mouth so it looks like you're meowing, please. That would be awesome.
Meow. 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 Sorry, this kind of happens when you have as many cats as I do, okay?
Instead of it being an old cat lady, he's an old cat guy.
But also, to build on what you're saying, Rocky, the biggest outcry is typically from people that get screwed after the fact. For example, when it feels like a few years ago now, when people that had a third-party screen on their phone suddenly got the error 53 after a software update. Like, it's easy for me to say, don't buy the new MacBook Pro because that keyboard is going to fail, the CPU is going to throttle, and the battery might explode. You know that there are issues, you know that there are problems, don't buy it. If you do buy it, you asked for it when it does happen. But I bought the iPhone XS, $1,000 phone, which I'm paying through AT&T, by the way, because I didn't really have a choice, but I'm like, okay, so be it. It's not a bad phone. I hate Face ID, but I'll deal with it. And now, after the fact, Apple screws me because I cannot put in a replacement battery without losing resale value when the time comes.
I'm in the same boat as you, Jay.
And those are the people that are going to be the most pissed off. And if that happens for me with a $1,000 cell phone, imagine what's going to happen to the people that buy a $50,000 Mac Pro, which I'm sure it's going to cost with fully spec'd out. And then suddenly that T2 chip is going to wake up and say, you can't do that. I think that's going to be the turning point.
You didn't say the magic word.
Exactly. I was almost about to do that. So we'll
Gonna
see,
happen.
but it's we can wait until fall. Then the Mac comes out, and it might be 2 years for that possible scenario to happen. And in those years, they're going to pull a whole bunch of other stunts, or we can all just wake up and boycott them. Buy your Macs used, buy your phones used. Make sure no money flows to Apple.
I don't think I've purchased a Mac new from Apple, since 2011. I don't foresee myself doing it again. It's
I
much
can't say
easier to
that.
get
Same
it
here.
used,
I can't
and
say
fix
that.
it up. Well, we know you can't, but the rest of us here who can't just go and buy a new one.
But you have a choice going
Yeah.
forward, Greg.
Yes, I do. In fact, right now I'm actually using my Mac Pro, my 2009 Mac Pro, more than I'm ever using the 2017. The only thing I use the 2017 for is to play iRacing on now. I don't really use it for serious work. I mean, this
Yeah, the iMac's
it
just not a pro
is
model.
it is on multi-core. On single core, my 2017 will smoke this thing. But on
Yeah.
multi-core, this 2009 smokes the 2017.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
before the Pro came out, I was like, all right, well, I can't get a trash can because they don't have the expandability I want, and that's I'm dead once the classic Macs stopped being supported. I was in the same boat with the MacBook Pro. I'm like, all right, well, can't move the RAM, can't move the hard drive anymore. Guess I don't want that.
Well, you just got
Yeah.
you just got a new 4,1, so
Well, the Pro, but I'm just saying before like I came into the Pro, like I was thinking for the future, like, all right, 10, 15 years down the road, if I need a new Mac, if I need a new iMac, let's say, should I get a new iMac? And then they slimmed down the iMacs. You can't really open them anymore or replace the memory or anything like that. So I'm like, all right, iMac's out of the question. And then the Mac Pro comes along and it's a trash can. I'm like, all right, can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
it's gonna be tricky. I was thinking of when this Mac Pro dies and the other 8 that I'm hoarding for spare parts die too. I have to go Hackintosh. But then the new Mac Pro got announced, and I got a little glimmer of hope that 10 years from now I can afford it, so I could stick with the Mac Pro. But it all depends on that T2 chip and those little nasty tricks that Apple is going to do. So
unless
we'll
they
see.
decide to go to ARM or not, you never know. So,
Yeah, so we'll see.
all right, so we're going to stick in history, news, and rumors here, and we're going to do some history. We're going to throw it over to Steve here, who has some interesting history.
Hold on, I got to get the tab up. No.
Oh my god.
I was too busy downloading Classilla on this thing, which, by the way, Netscape renders the MacYac website much better. This is Netscape 4.7. All right, let's look at Classilla here. Oh, where'd the header image go?
Classilla doesn't do PNG too well.
No, and I tried to open IE and I ran out of memories. So. Hold on, let me open up the page here.
We'll wait. It's okay. We'll wait.
You could start me off as I'm loading.
Yeah, I know. We could talk about something to take the focus off of you, but I prefer this. We just stare at you until you're ready.
Yeah. Well, I have the picture ready to go. Just let me know when you're ready.
It's the Apple symbol loading pages. Okay, there you go.
Picture? What picture?
Pages.
Oh, pages.
You didn't have that open already? What?
I did, but I closed the tab. I don't know how. Anyway, all right. Steve Wozniak was born in 1950 on August 11th, so not tomorrow, not that soon.
3 days.
That's solid math right there.
That's the extent of my education right there.
11 minus 8.
So on Sunday is his birthday. So I actually got to meet him twice, which was pretty cool. And so I guess I'll talk a little bit about that if you want to throw the picture up.
I do. What's
Okay.
up?
So that's me, much younger me. And so I met him at Engadget had a show back in, I think it was 2010 or 2011 in New York, and they had Steve Wozniak on stage. I think it was right when the white iPhone debuted. Was that the iPhone 4 guys? Who remembers
You
that?
used the picture.
Yeah. Who remembers which color was the first one? Was it the iPhone 4? The first one that was white?
3GS, I believe.
Okay, well, whatever
No, the
that one was.
3G, the 3GS had the white.
Okay, he had a prototype of one that he bought from China or something, and he had two. He had a black phone and a white phone, and he was saying the reason the white one didn't work is because the sensor was leaking through the light or whatever, and you would dial with your face or whatever when you're on the phone. So he was on stage talking about that, so that helps me date it. He was a very nice guy. After the Engadget show, there was a line of people, if you want to show the next photo, just waiting to say hi to him. He had a little table set up. People were bringing Mac Classics, Mac 512Ks, Mac SEs with them. Someone brought an Apple II with them. I just happened to, this is how crazy my life is, just happened to have an old Apple ADB mouse in the back of my car. So when we parked for the event in New York, I was like, wait, just in case. And I grabbed the mouse out of this bundle of wires into my trunk. My wife looks at me like, what the hell's your problem? But luckily it came in handy because I was able to say hi to him. There was a long line and we were getting rushed out. And he signed my first generation ADB mouse there in the back of my ticket for the event there. So that was really cool. It was really nice to meet him. And so a few years after that, I may or may not have played hooky from work because he was at an event that was nearby. And he was doing like an entrepreneurship day thing. And it was right after Steve Jobs passed away. So that's, what year is that? My brain sucks. 2013?
2011? No, it was like 11 or 12.
Okay. So yeah, it was 2011. That's right. October-ish 2011 because he spoke
October
in November.
5th, because that actually is my birthday.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was only a month after that, so it was fresh on everyone's mind. So he had this wonderful speech, and he was empowering and, talking about engineering and how it has to be, a very important thing for kids and stuff like that, and these young adults going to classes, because he was speaking out of school. And, of course, they bring up Steve Jobs, and he got all misty-eyed, and it was sad seeing that, because obviously they were very close friends for a time. But afterwards, there was like a little press room, and I just followed the people around with the cameras because I'm like, hey, I want to see where Steve Wozniak's going. And it was one of those things where you just sort of own it and just sort of walk in there like you're supposed to be there. And no one questioned me. I didn't have a press badge. I just had my iPhone 4. And I just thought, all right, well, I'll wait into the room until they go into the press room, then I'll leave. And the guy waved me in, so I'm like, all right, who am I to refuse? I just walked in there. They had news cameras set up. They were interviewing him. He was on the local news, but he had, I probably told this story on a previous Mac Yak. He had a watch that had a, what are those tubes? The Nixie tubes or whatever? One of those fluorescent tubes. So when you go to look at your watch, the tube lit up with the number or whatever. And I said, oh, what's with the watch? And one of the news people picked that up, and so that was written about in the story because I asked the question. But nice. Yeah, he was very nice, shook his hand, very nice guy to talk to. I know a few people in the vintage computer area, vintage computer hobbyist, community, not industry, that actually have his phone number, and they'll call him once in a while when they're trying to troubleshoot an old Apple II thing or something. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so he seems like a nice guy. I would have loved it if he stuck around Apple, because he really had the fight in him to go toe to toe and be like, no, this is a stupid engineering decision. It should have a slot in it. It should have expandability, because that's what he was all about. He wanted the Apple II to have slots. He wanted the Macintosh to have slots. If he was still around at the company, I think that would be amazing. But he parted ways, and Apple's probably worse off because of it, because he was a big driving force in it. So happy birthday!
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Yes, I was talking about Wozniak.
Yes.
The Woz, Steve Wozniak.
Yep.
So yeah, if you ever have an event or something around your area and he happens to be the guest or something like that, go see him. Also, his autobiography is awesome. I am still reading through it. I got the ebook edition because I don't know where I put my hardbook version. For whatever reason, I never finished the hardcover version. So shame on me.
Fan you are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so go do that. Fun times.
Yeah, I might check it out.
So, Steve, you got some other history stuff here.
Yeah, so just some notes that I was looking at. I didn't know that the Mac Pro was 13 years old already. That makes me feel old. So the first generation 2006 Mac Pro came out 13 years ago in 2006. I mean, that's pretty nuts if you think about that. How many of you guys have had a first generation Pro? I don't think I have a first gen. I have the 2008 one. But
Me neither.
not
That was
you,
a pipe dream at the time.
Yeah. How about you, Greg? You don't have one, right?
What's that?
First gen Mac Pro 2006.
Mac Pro, I did.
Okay.
I still have parts of it. I mean, some of my parts are with Mike. So
Mike has some parts too.
yes.
We lost Mike, by the way. You can't see it on the stream, but we lost Mike.
It looks like he's gone.
Yeah, and I can't do anything about it. So
I'll use my powers.
well, you probably can still hear him. You just can't see him.
Oh well.
No, I don't think he's here. Is he?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's logged in.
Who,
Anyway,
Mike? I'm back alright.
Yeah, I hear
Rocky.
you fine. I hear you fine, Mike.
Oh, I don't hear him.
I don't
Rocky,
know.
have you had a first gen Mac Pro ever? 2006 model? Nope.
First Mac Pro that I have owned is my 2008, so my 3-comma.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the next historical item on the list was, and I think a lot of people love this one, the G4 mirror drive door Power Mac.
Yeah.
17 years ago today. The
Best
famous
Mac
wind
ever.
tunnel.
Should I go get mine?
Yeah, flex those muscles.
Yeah, that thing's heavy.
How
The
many
one
of
I
them do you
got.
have, Jay?
6.
Oh, you beat me. I think I have
That's
like
hard
2.
to do to beat Steve.
I think I have like 2 or 3. I only think one works though. The rest are parts. How many graphites you got?
5.
I beat you there.
Yeah. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do with them. They just fall in my lap.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give one to Mike when he stops by.
No, you're just a sucker for him, Jay. That's all there is to it.
True.
Don't lie.
Overclock.
Yeah, definitely.
And the machine I don't have, the Apple Lisa, was actually discontinued 33 years ago today. So, yeah,
So
sure
that's
lifespan, but
just entering vintage status now, right?
yeah, yeah, it's still supported if you live in California. Yeah, that's
Especially if you have a Twiggy drive, you know.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, jeez, yeah. One, I don't know if that's going to be still operating anymore after all these years. I never had a Lisa, but I hear those were a bit problematic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
the
never
salt-
owned one.
For the guy who asked in the chat about the Power Mac G4, the Sawtooth model, I think the PCI one was introduced. What was it? The summer of 1999? Let me look it up.
You might be
Yeah,
right.
that was a weird one because the PCI one came out August 1999, and then the AGP model came out September 1999, and I think they discontinued the PCI model very shortly after because
Well,
why
the
do it?
Sawtooth, the Sawtooth is the AGP graphics model.
Yeah,
That came out in 1999.
it says September 99.
Yeah. So that's been 20 years.
Oof, jeez. Yeah, it looks like the
Actually, next month is 20 years.
yeah, it looks like the PCI one only lasted to the end of that year. It was discontinued.
Makes sense.
It was not around for a while.
Yeah, that's a weird decision. Anyway,
Yep.
Wasn't it basically a G3 with a G4
Yeah.
CPU tossed in it?
Well, that was
Yeah.
the Yikes, not the Sawtooth.
yeah, the PCI one we're
okay.
talking about, the Yikes one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah, the PCI one.
yeah. So that's the history topics I have here listed. So it's
I
interesting
think
to
it's
look
fun
back.
to. I was about to say it's fun to see where we came from, and don't get me wrong, Apple was screwing people back then as well. But without the internet and stuff, we just didn't know about it. But they had internal recalls and stuff they didn't tell people about. So, but
just
back
like
then,
those monitors. Yeah,
Well, back then it was also harder to get the information out. We didn't have the internet
that's
as
what I
much
just
as
said
we
2
had.
seconds ago.
Yeah,
You're
I know.
repeating me all night long, man. Come on,
trying to steal his thunder.
come on.
Yep, I sure am.
But back then, one thing was true: it just worked. So that's why I like looking back. And I have fond memories of my entire history of using Apple products up until 2012-ish. With the exception of my Mac Pro, which I use very fondly today still. But yeah, it's fun to look back, but it also makes me feel old. Very old.
All right, Steve, we're going to segue right into your archive adventures.
Well, today I want to just sort of do a PSA about a particular computer. So I didn't know this recently, but I'm not a genius about all this stuff. I learn about it how anybody else does. They hear about things. So I have an Apple IIgs. I have one or two of. I have at least two of them. I think I have one, but it's like a parts one. But anyway, the Apple IIgs, like a lot of the Macintoshes from around the time and throughout the late 90s, have the little half AA size lithium 3-volt batteries. And I have one over here. I'll pull out. So this is what one of those little batteries look like. And if you have a Macintosh that has these batteries, you want to remove them because they could leak and burst over the 30-odd years that they're sitting in the machine. So I didn't know that these were actually in the 2GS. I just didn't know they had one until someone had a photo of one. I think it was on Twitter or Instagram. Under the power supply of the 2GSs, that's where this little battery sits. And a lot of them are soldered to the board. So there are two leads on the battery. That's why you see this battery has little pegs coming off here. I did clip them pretty close, but you can still see that. Others are socketed, depending on the revision of the Apple IIgs you have. But why I wanted to mention this is someone on one of the Facebook groups, I believe it was the Apple II Enthusiast group, they just got like three of these systems, these 2GS systems, and they wanted to test them out. They wanted to get them to work, and people, they were just like, "Oh, rip out the battery," and he's like, "Well, where's the battery?" And I'm thinking, "Yeah, where is the battery?" so I looked it up. It's under the power supply. I did a quick little video about how to do that. It's not really posted anywhere. I will share it in the chat if you guys want. Of just how to remove that battery. I'm not replacing the battery. I just literally show you how to remove that. So if you do have an Apple IIgs, I would really strongly suggest that you do that. Remove that battery.
Bless you.
Especially if it's the soldered on kind, just get 2 wire clippers and clip that off. And it just, you don't want that leaking all over the board because that's what happens. When these batteries get old, they just deteriorate. And that goes for any Mac that has those batteries in it. The older they get, the more problematic they are. So, I went around maybe a year or so ago and just yanked those batteries off of every machine I had. And thankfully only one of them burst. And that was in like I think it was one of the LC 475s or something like that, unfortunately. So that board
Which video
toast.
was it that you took the battery out and it started expanding on the desk?
Oh, that was oh jeez, that was a good one.
1 second, guys. Mike, if you could hear me, you need to sign off and come back on because no one else can hear you.
Yeah, the brackets on that Mac was the only thing holding that battery together. As soon as you pulled it out, you could see it popping.
Yeah, so the Quadra 800 was, I was doing a live stream with the Quadra 800, and I saw the battery there, and I'm like, ooh, I should take that out. And as soon as I took it out, like Jay said, it was expanding, and you could just see the problems occurring. So you gotta be careful. So I'll paste the link in there for that video. You get a little bonus here because you're watching Mac Yak. But yeah, go ahead and remove those batteries. I don't care what machine you got. You don't want them in your machine. Uh-oh. There you go.
We're losing people left and right.
No, I'm trying to see. There's Mike. Okay.
He took out the battery.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't see Mike, so now I have to quit.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I see Mike, but he's an M&M on my desktop.
Yeah, and now, Greg, you're sideways. It's just FaceTime being FaceTime again.
Oh, so we have to
This is
pop
the
out
reason-
and then we see Mike again. Okay.
I'm actually straight on the stream. Okay, I'm looking at the stream right now, and I'm straight. I might be sideways on yours, but I am straight.
There he is.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
sideways on mine.
Hi, Mike. Welcome
So
back,
FaceTime
Mike.
is being like really. This is one of the reasons why I want to try to get away from FaceTime because we have funny issues with this stuff.
Yeah, we try. I think more than anyone else, we gave FaceTime our due diligence. We did our part. We tested the crap out of it, and it's not ready for us.
Prime time.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
All right.
it's a bit of a sad situation. We're trying, guys.
Yes, we are. We're trying to get better.
yep. Soon we're all going to be here. Greg is going to be streaming from a PC. We're all going to be sitting on PCs just because we're sick of it. And then it's going to be Windows Yak.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right. Next topic. Instead of what we were smoking, we always have, because I didn't come up with anything this week. I didn't have time to look up anything. Jay came up with a pretty good idea.
Always.
Yeah. We're going to let the fans out there, you got like 5 minutes to go out and try to search for something that you think is ridiculously priced. Yeah. It could be on eBay, it could be on Facebook groups or whatever. Find something that you think is ridiculously priced, post a link in the chat for us, and we'll look at it and see how ridiculous that is.
Yep. 5 minutes starting now.
Yep.
Can I share one that I found?
Oh,
Yeah.
go for it.
Whoa. You're beating him to the punch.
Well, I shared it in the chat with you guys earlier. This was a local post. You don't have to post a picture. I'll just describe it. So
Post
this
a link in the chat.
Oh, it's like a here. Let me see if I could, because it's one of those Facebook links where it might be like restricted to the location. But here, let me see if it comes through. So, I like to go look on Facebook, see if there's like any old Macs or anything like that. But the majority is all overpriced, and I can't find anything. But this guy, went down by $100.
What?
This was here. Let me paste it in the chat here to see if it wants to load up. There we go. So if I paste this in the chat, wow, come on, there we go. The chat window is like all flying around at me. So this is on Facebook right now. It was a few hours ago listed at $999. Now it's only a mere $899
What a
for
bargain.
a 1985 Macintosh Plus, vintage and functional. Comes with a mouse, no keyboard, just a power cord by the looks of it. It seems in okay shape. There's a lot of grime and residue on this thing, but wow. I picked up a Macintosh Plus with the box, with the accessories, with an image writer too, and with the floppy disk drive a while back for like under $130. So I don't know what this guy's smoking, but up there in Scarsdale, New York, maybe they have some special blend of something.
That thing is nasty too.
Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only curious about that service sticker he has on the bottom of it.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Oh, I didn't even look at the other pictures. Yeah, that thing is gnarly. Oof.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, it shows character. That's half the value.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And here we go in just for comparison, because when I search on Macintosh on Facebook, I get a bunch of different things. There's another Macintosh Plus for $120, and then there's a Macintosh SE for $125 with a hard drive and an image writer. So there you go.
Right,
this
guys,
one is in Pennsylvania. I'll send it your way, Mike.
Oh, Garrett.
Might be the same one I'm looking at here. I'll send it in the chat. This guy has a picture of it, and he's asking $125. It comes with the hard drive, a keyboard, mouse, printer, but it's a SE floppy drive, hard drive, FDHD, so it's a good one.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not as good as the SE30, right? Yeah. Yeah. Pass. Mm-hmm. Oh, this poor thing. Ah,
Oh, you got it?
I just found some. I'm gonna paste this in the chat because it makes me a little sick to look at it. I just sent
Garrett,
it. I just sent it to you guys.
Garrett found a display, Apple Studio display, 21-inch, for
Holy
$245.
There you go, Jay. Start driving.
No. That's a little steep for my taste.
Oh my gosh.
It looks clean. That's a plus.
Yeah, I bet you it is gonna work for about a day and then kick out.
Look at the back. Look at the cable and the plug.
It is seriously yellowed.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's not sun
plugs do
yellowing
that.
either.
No, yeah.
That's like it was in a smoker house and somebody cleaned the case.
Exactly.
That's a pack a day yellow.
Yeah.
I can smell a smoker's computer a mile away.
Yeah, but they cleaned the inside too. So.
Nice. Yeah, if you do that, if you light up around a prototype G5, I'm going to have to ask you to send it to me.
All right, I got one here that I found. It might
Jay will
not
drive up and
be-
pick it up.
It might not be a what they were smoking, but
Isn't that
probably
the topic?
close. Well, you got to look at it though first.
Alright.
This is a LC prototype.
Whoa! What? A prototype LC? No way.
For $10,000 though.
Whoa!
Did they really say
Oh,
LC?
I saw this. They posted this on Facebook because they found a picture of the ROM chips or whatever.
The
I think this is the
LC-ROM?
same one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Look at the second picture. It's got the LC-ROM.
And so
This
they were
Apple-
trying to figure out what that meant. Let me see if the pictures are going to load up for me now.
Yeah, there's nothing on the bottom of the case. Wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
they were wondering what GM. What? Let me see if this is the one that says GM on it. Yeah, there was one of them. Yeah, this might not be it, but there was one that said GM. It was a similar post. They're like, "Oh, what does GM mean?" I'm like, "That's probably Gold Master." That's probably what it means.
Could, yeah.
Yeah, but this looks like an earlier one, B4. Yeah.
So 5 minutes are up. Garrett is the only one that submitted. We don't count, so Garrett found the best one.
So Garrett, he's
what
the
does
winner.
Garrett win? No. He already won a G5 from Rutgers.
So for
that's
10
right.
for $10,000, is he going to remove that PRAM battery, or is he going to let it explode when the heat gets in that box during shipping? What an idiot!
Oh, yeah, that's an old battery too. You can tell by the look of it.
Yes, it is. I'll tell him I'll pay him $1 for it, and I'll take my chances with the battery.
Oh, wait, we have a last-minute submission from Dan. He posted his 3 times, but it's not going through, so he's going to put it in Discord.
Okay.
Let's see if Garrett has some competition here.
I'm wondering if we've got it set to not allow links from anyone.
You would be the one that said it,
Well, you guys are
'cause I
mods
didn't
too.
change
You
it.
could set it too.
but I didn't change it.
All right, Dan is typing. Is it going to be good?
We'll see.
Type faster, Dan.
All it's got should be a copy and paste. It shouldn't even be a type.
No, he's manually typing the URL to make sure it's good this time.
HTTPS.
Colon.
He's no longer typing, but I don't
Added
see a
to
link.
weekly show is what he
Weekly
says.
show. Damn it, I'm looking at the wrong channel. Super rare
Yep, it's
Apple
there.
Lisa 1 computer. Uh-oh.
Did somebody already
Holy
copy and
what?
paste it? I haven't.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm going to
paste the link. Damn it.
Dude, I was so
Holy-
shocked that I don't know what a Lisa is worth, but that
Whoa!
is pretty steep.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Jeez.
Is
It
a
works,
Lisa
so that's
worth
pretty
that
cool.
much?
What?
Wow.
Okay.
Wait a second. Whoa. This is the one. Oh, no. This is
Yeah,
the
I've
one
seen
I
this
had
before.
on a couple of episodes ago. This is the one I had on before. So this doesn't count because I've had this one on.
Oh,
you
come
had
on.
this on one?
Ah,
Yeah, I've had this one on. I remember this one now.
what?
Batteries removed prior to
$350
acid
to
destroying
ship
the
on top of it.
Yeah. Jeez.
Whoa.
You can't even include shipping for
Yeah,
$65,000.
No, man.
Make offer $20. There we go.
I wonder if there are any offers. I mean, you can't see.
Well, there's 390 people watching it.
Thinking, let's see how much this crazy thing goes for.
Hey, he's got free local pickup at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me give you this $65,000 check.
Jeez.
All right, so we got one more link from Mac Attack.
Mac Attack.
Well, that's his name on Discord.
Hey,
Matthew.
you stole my name.
I'm putting it in chat now. This is a Mac Pro 2008. What? Okay. Yeah. We have a winner. We have a winner.
What is it? Hold
What
on.
the hell?
What? Where did he get it? Is he trying to be like Steve Wozniak and do the repeating digits?
Yep.
Except he likes the number 8 for some reason.
Mr. Matthew, you have won tonight's contest.
Wow.
For the challenge.
So, hey, Rocky, your 2008 is worth $88,888.88.
I'll take it.
Hey,
I'll
Mike,
happily
I
take
think
that
we're going to
if
have to
somebody wants to buy it.
renegotiate our trade.
Holy mackerel.
yeah.
Hey, at least the shipping's free on that one.
You'd have to trade your house and then some.
Well, I would say so if you're going to pay
Holy
$89,000.
Notice that not a single person is watching this.
Yeah, there's no watchers.
No one.
Oh my goodness.
Dude.
I
Yeah,
bet you they
that's-
wanted like
that's the
$88,
winner.
888 or something.
Oh,
And they
I
just
see why.
left it.
I see why. It has 32 gigs of RAM.
Oh.
Ah.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's only one CPU. It's not even dual.
No,
No, I
it's a
take
dual.
it back. It's dual. I see
It's a
it.
dual.
Yeah. They didn't mention it in the stuff.
And
It's like 40
It's
grand
great.
per CPU.
he's got the condition. If you look at the condition, he says used grade B. So it's not even a grade A.
What?
It looks
Oh,
yeah, it looks okay. There's an eSATA ports on the back of it. But
good lordy.
I mean, he better be including his house with it if that's what it is.
Yeah, right?
Got 10.8.3 installed. Jeez.
Couldn't even
All right.
update.
All right,
10.8.
so-
Well done, Matthew. Well done.
Yep, Matthew, you
Yeah,
are the
buddy.
winner. That,
Good job,
right
Matthew.
there,
a good one.
That takes the cake. I
Yeah,
think.
Steve Jobs licked it, he married it, and he,
He humped it.
yeah, he
That Mac Pro was pregnant at some point.
Steve Jobs' DNA is permanently, on that Mac.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez. It doesn't even look like it has all the port covers on the back either.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah, that costs extra.
That costs an extra 40 grand.
$500 either. Each one, yeah.
I'm
right,
gonna look at this guy's other auctions and see if this is a trend.
How do we do that? Click on his name?
NTC Tech.
Yeah, on the right.
He's
No,
got
yeah, he has
26,000
a
positive.
2011 Mac Mini for under $200, and an Apple II for $389, and an Xserve Raid for $400.
What?
So
Wait,
Yeah.
I hear RAID. What?
yeah, Xserve Raid network storage enclosure with 11 500 gigabyte drives. $400 or best offer. There you go, Jay.
All right.
Oh, he's selling
$50
a keyboard
$50.
set.
He's in California. though.
ADB keyboard set for $76.
Where do you see that? All I
Jeez
see is
Louise.
batteries and cameras and useless junk.
So when you're on the eBay auction, on the right side where it says seller information, save this seller, contact seller,
Yeah.
visit store,
See other
click on
items.
see other items,
Yeah, I
And then
figured that part
scroll
out.
down. Yes, or just I did it, and then go at the top. It says search for anything. Just type in Apple and hit enter, and it only searches for his items.
Search for
Oh.
His or
This
her
has
items.
turned into a showing Jay how to use eBay.
Dude,
Yes.
I never use this garbage.
I'm here all night.
screw it. I'm good.
All right, guys. So
If I bring home another raid, I'm gonna get divorced instantly.
Be
All right,
cheaper
so-
for us to buy them off you then.
Yeah, right.
So we're pretty much done for tonight. I think that's about it. So we can do our shameless self promotion stuff now. So, Steve, what you got coming up next?
So I just released. This has been a crazy week. I actually just released 2 videos. One was the Apple one, the Apple 2GS battery video, which I just pasted in. That's sort of like a exclusive Patreon one, but since the topic came up, I shared it with you guys. The other one that I just released was about DreamPi, which is a dial-up networking solution with the Raspberry Pi to get your Sega Dreamcast online. And the whole purpose I was playing with that was to see if I could get a computer to work via dial-up. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in here. Dude,
It's been non-stop spam from you. Patreon spam, YouTube spam, Facebook spam.
I had somebody stop from my Patreon a few months ago, and the reason was not engaging enough. So, am I too engaging now? Like, what's going on?
Yes, this is extreme, man.
So that's the video I did. I am going to do a video the end of this month sometime, because the original iMac will be 21 years old. So I want to do a follow-up to my iMac video about USB peripherals and how you would connect legacy stuff, because let's say you just got this iMac, but you still had a StyleWire printer, you still had, let's say, an ADB joystick, you still had a SCSI hard disk or a SCSI scanner. How would you connect that stuff? So I'm going to do a video about that. That should be in a few weeks. Hopefully before the end of the month, because I want to hit that birthday anniversary, kind of. So,
Yep.
that's what I'm doing.
How about you, Mike?
I was about to say, come on, yeah,
Dude, you better.
you
Seriously.
might be featured in the iMac video I do if you play your cards right.
Well, remember when Grudy went over to Jay's house? Jay refused to be in the videos. Now he's like has no problem. with them, so.
You're just gonna see Mike's wife with her hand over her head, just like in the background the entire time.
Well, there you go. No, I would definitely love to see a collaboration video and videos from you, Mike, of dropping a new engine in a car or something. I eat that
That'd be
stuff
cool.
up. I love
I'm
it.
happy to learn about cars. Yeah, just set up your little webcam on a tripod and just go.
Yeah.
How about you, Jay?
Absolutely nothing.
I was going to say, I'm about ready to withdraw my Patreon support because not engaging enough. You know?
So I'm
Yeah.
too engaging. It's coming from a person who's not engaging.
I'll give you some engagement once we stop streaming. No, dude. Last week I showed you one of the messages in my office. The stack grew since then, and I can only roll my chair back to the right
Welcome to my
and
world,
then
buddy.
back. 'Cause I can't even see my floor anymore. It's gotten out of hand. I need to clean and get my shop back in order before I can pick up any projects. I did a few. That whole Pixla mod thing took about a week of research, a few hours every night to make sure I got my facts straight, and that ate up a lot of time. So there will be stuff on the blog, but to make a video, that's probably going to be a few weeks.
Rocky?
Well, I've got a lot going on at the moment, but it's not related to any posting and stuff. I have been streaming a little bit more. It's starting to spurt in again, but I haven't really sat down to make a video yet because there's a lot going on in videos. People don't realize this. Just to let all the viewers know, if you're not familiar with what it takes to make a video, you record it, of course, and you record about a lot more footage than you need. And then you have to go in and you edit it. And oh yeah. It takes a day to create a video.
I wish there was a timer on Final Cut Pro that told you how long you were in for each project. Because mine be in the triple digits on some of those things.
Again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Ugh.
oh, it's Saturday. Let me do a quick video.
8 hours
it's
later.
Sunday morning. What happens?
Exactly.
Rocky, you want to throw your Twitch out there? Because I know you've been trying to stream a little bit more
Yeah.
there.
Well, yeah. I'll pull it from the Discord because
You were streaming on
in there.
Twitch?
Yeah.
I never got a notification.
Yeah, that's what I've been popping up doing a lot more of now.
Glad you finally putting the CPU to use. Damn it.
Hey, I like that CPU. It works great.
No, I actually watched them a couple times. And...
Yeah. I'll post it out there. Of course, it'll be won't it be in the links or something like that? Whoa, why did it highlight me in red? Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It might be in one of your links if you have the Twitch one in there. If not, I'll add it later.
Yeah, no problem. No worries.
All right. And finally, myself, I've been basically just streaming Twitch. I need to get some more of my ham. I want to get my next ham radio video on Mac out. I just haven't had time to do it. Once I get some time, I'll film that and get that out. But that's about it for me right now.
Speaking of collaborations, Mike, you have a ham radio too, don't you?
License.
Because it would be cool if for the video you guys could talk to each other over radio. That would be cool.
Well, extra class. Tech Plus only gets you on VHF, UHF, and 10 meters. 10 meters would be the only thing that we could technically use, but 10 meters is not that great right now. So, yeah, we're
collaboration video. Mike gets upgraded license.
Mike gets sued by the FCC.
SWAT raids his house.
Yeah. 20 meters. Yeah, 20 meters would work fine for us. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem. But the problem is I don't have any HF gear right now either. I've gotten rid of all my HF gear.
This fell apart fast.
Yeah, I got VHF and UHF, and the range on VHF and UHF is line of sight. So that ain't going to work. Yeah.
Yeah,
be fun
sure.
if we could do it.
Well, you could probably do it. You get a little device that can somehow convert it over to the internet after it puts it out there, and there's a receiver on the other end or something like that.
You mentioned that, Rocky. There's already a system out there that does that, and it's called EchoLink.
Then do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Defeats the purpose of ham radio.
The viewer won't know if you edit it properly. Man.
Anyways, guys, so that's about it tonight. So,
thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us at the first 15, 20 minutes, because that was rough there. But as always, please like and subscribe both YouTube and Facebook. We have a Facebook group that Rocky manages, and the YouTube channel I manage. So make sure you like and subscribe to both of them.
And Discord.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. Help yourself. Come and join us on our Discord. Our Discord channel is up on the screen right now. So if you are not a member of Discord, go ahead and become a member. We do have some new levels and stuff now that we are actually experimenting with. If you are a chatter in our live streams, you get what we call VIP status.
If we notice you, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect, no. If you have been a guest, then you get guest status. Okay, so we actually have different levels. We're working on different award levels and stuff. If you do a lot of stuff in the Discord channel and talk a lot over there, we're probably going to give you some kind of status there too. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, we're trying to reward all our loyal fans out there.
Yep. For example, Dana, Hot Dog Zanzibar on there. He had like major VIP status, guest status, everything. And tonight he didn't show up, so poof, it's all gone. That's how it works. Yep.
Jay giveth and Jay taketh away.
So anyways, guys, but that's where we try to hang out after the show, and we do have voice channels, so you can actually talk to us there. So come and hang out. As always, check out the description info and the links. I'll have, complete descriptions below after the show. So check us out on the replay. Spread the word and tell your friends. Make sure you tell everybody that we're here. I know we got a lot of a bump in subscriptions today because thanks to Ken. So we appreciate that, Ken. We're going to give him another shout out there. So we appreciate that very much. And we will hopefully have him again sometime on the show.
As long as he doesn't pick the power on us.
Yeah.
Here's the video that we were mentioning. Here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
watch Ken's video.
Watch Ken's video. After this, we'll be done here in a few seconds. So, guys, take care, and we will see you guys next Thursday.
See you
Hopefully,
next
Brady
week.
will be here too.
See ya.
Yeah.
So, see you later.
Later, guys.